what's up, everybody? Welcome back into the podcast. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Guys, today I'm going to be giving you my 5 league-winning sleepers for the 2022 fantasy football season, and I'm going to get right into it with the first player on my list, and that is Courtland Sutton, guys. I love Courtland Sutton in this Broncos offense now that Russell Wilson is the quarterback. We're talking about a player in Courtland Sutton that averaged 15.7 yards per target in his season last year in the NFL. This is second in the NFL as far as air yards per target. This dude is meant to be a big play wide receiver. He's just never had an awesome deep ball thrower throwing him the ball. He's really never had that good of a quarterback in general. Now you get not only the best quarterback that he has ever had in his career in Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, but one of the best big play deep ball throwers to probably ever step on the football field in Russell Wilson. I mean, we know how good of a deep ball passer Russell Wilson is, and Courtland Sutton is going to be the big play threat in this offense. Now that Russell Wilson is his quarterback, Courtland Sutton has one of the highest weekly ceilings of any player in the entire NFL. I mean, we saw it with Tyler Lockett in the Seahawks offense. On any given week, Tyler Lockett could give you the single biggest fantasy performance at the wide receiver position, and Courtland Sutton is kind of going to be the new Tyler Lockett. He gives you that big playability and that insanely high weekly ceiling, and on top of that, he's a bigger target than Tyler Lockett at 6'3", so you got to think he's probably going to also get more red zone targets than Tyler Lockett did. So stepping into the Tyler Lockett role, Courtland Sutton is going to be even more dominant because he has just as good a big playability, just as high of a weekly ceiling, and due to being a bigger target, he is probably going to get more red zone targets and not be completely big play dependent. So the upside for Courtland Sutton in this Broncos offense is absolutely insane. He has top 8 wide receiver upside on the season, and he is going as pick number 60 plus in the draft, the number 26th wide receiver off the board. I mean, this is incredible disrespect to Courtland Sutton considering how talented he is and how good of a quarterback he has throwing him the ball now. This is a massive league-winning player, and he's one of my top sleepers for the 2022 season. Grab Courtland Sutton for your fantasy team. He's going to be a beast. Next player on my list is going to be Kadarius Toney. Okay, guys. Kadarius Toney has awesome athletic intangibles. He's got the 4.39 40 time. He's got an awesome vertical jump. He is a tremendous athlete, very hard to tackle in the open field. This dude's run after the catch abilities rival the best players in the NFL. He could be one of the best run after catch players that we see in the NFL in the years to come. And one of his biggest weaknesses coming out of college was supposed to be that he's too little and he goes down easily after the first hit or after first contact. But he showed to be the exact opposite of that this past season. This dude breaks tackles like the best of them. He runs very strong for his size. And once he is in the open field, he is one of the most lethal players in the entire NFL and one of the hardest players to bring down. So considering the fact that he has all this going for him, and he's probably going to be the number 1 target hog for the Giants this year, you got to figure the talent plus the volume is going to equal an absolutely massive season for Kadarius Toney, and he's going in the 8th round, 9th round, 10th round in a lot of draft. This dude is going to be an absolute steal this year. So this is one of my top sleepers on the season. Get your hands on Kadarius Toney. He's going to be a league-winning wide receiver and have a huge season. Next player on my list is going to be Tony Pollard. Okay, guys, this is a massive sleeper this season. I think that Tony Pollard could end up winning a lot of people their fantasy leagues, more so than pretty much any other sleeper I have on this list. Look, Tony Pollard is the more talented back than Zeke. A lot of people that don't follow the Cowboys closely probably don't know this because all the hype is surrounding Ezekiel Elliott. But if you've been watching the Cowboys, especially this past season, Tony Pollard is better than Ezekiel Elliott in every way, shape, and form. And all of the advanced metrics will tell you this. And, I mean, even the basic metrics. Look, this dude averaged 5.5 yards per carry last year. That's tied for second most efficient rushing rate in the NFL, tied with Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb. That is pretty elite company as far as his yards per carry. Now, obviously, it's a smaller sample size because he didn't get as many carries as those other two backs, but the eye test will tell you that this dude is a very talented running back. The numbers will tell you that he's a very talented running back. And Ezekiel Elliott, as much as I really just don't like to say this, he's just past his prime. After he had that injury early in the season last year, he just didn't look the same after that, and I don't really see him returning to form in being a prime Ezekiel Elliott ever again. This means that Tony Pollard is by far the better back in the offense, and if the coaches are smart, and if the coaches want to win games, they are going to make Tony Pollard the lead back of this team at some point. So there's a very distinct possibility that Tony Pollard ends up taking over the backfield, being the workhorse back for this team. And then there's also the possibility of a very injury-prone Zeke possibly getting hurt and being out for the season. And if that happens, Tony Pollard has the upside to be the running back one in fantasy. So you're getting probably the most elite handcuff, option that there possibly is in Tony Pollard, right up there with, Alexander Madison and A.J. Dillon. But Tony Pollard is probably the most elite handcuff that you could possibly draft. And he already has standalone value considering the fact that unlike the other handcuffs, he has a very good chance to, even if Zeke doesn't get hurt, completely and totally take over the Cowboys' backfield this year and be an absolute beast for fantasy. This is a massive sleeper. He's a league-winning player. Grab Tony Pollard for your fantasy team. Next player on my list is going to be Justin Fields. Okay, guys, I want to stress the importance of not wasting high draft capital on quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, guys like this early in drafts. Don't waste your early picks on quarterbacks. You can wait and draft a guy like Justin Fields, significantly later in the fantasy draft. I mean, you could get this guy at pick number like 110 in the fantasy draft, and you could get a great wide receiver or a great running back early where you would have normally wasted your pick on a quarterback, and then you can wait and get a guy like Justin Fields, and what Justin Fields gives you is just as good of weekly upside as guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Will he outperform them on the season? Probably not, but even if he gives you 85% of the points that those guys get you, it's worth it to fade those bigger name players early in the draft and draft Justin Fields later. Justin Fields is extremely fast. He's going to give you the rushing upside on a week-to-week basis. He hasn't shown to be a great passing quarterback yet, but we know that he has a rocket arm, so the potential for him being a great passing quarterback is definitely there, and you've got to figure the Bears are probably going to load up with offensive weapons over the offseason. You figure they're probably going to draft a wide receiver. They're probably going to bolster the offensive line. So the overall efficiency of this offense is going to be a lot better, not to mention he has David Montgomery to help him with his rushing upside because David Montgomery is a very dangerous running back, and so teams are going to have to game plan to stop David Montgomery. That makes Justin Fields' dual threat abilities even more lethal, and he is a candidate every week to give you multiple rushing touchdowns and 100 yards on the ground. So he's going to have an awesome floor-ceiling combination at the quarterback position no matter what this year. Fade those big-name quarterbacks early in the draft. Wait and draft Justin Fields. Next player on my list, final sleeper that I have right here, is going to be Zach Ertz. Now, I know that Zach Ertz is old, so, at this point, you probably think, hey, he's past his prime. But look, he's a year younger than Travis Kelce, and there was a time where it was all about Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, and Zach Ertz. That was kind of like the trio of elite tight ends. So let's not forget how good Zach Ertz was at some point. You got to figure that even if his talent has gone down a little bit, he's still a very good tight end. And now there's a ton of targets up for grabs in the Cardinals offense now that Chase Edmonds is gone, now that Christian Kirk is gone. A huge portion of the target share has opened up in Arizona. And considering the fact that he really doesn't even have any competitions from a number 2 tight end, like he did in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, towards the end of his Philadelphia career, he had to worry about Dallas Goedert and competing for touches. He doesn't have to compete for targets with any other tight ends in the Arizona offense. He's the clear-cut tight end 1. So you got to figure that he's going to have certain weeks this year where he absolutely goes off and gives you huge performances at the tight end position, which, as we know, huge performances at the tight end position can create huge point swings in fantasy football because most people's tight ends don't do a darn thing. So this dude is going to be a player that can win you a week or two single-handedly this year in the Arizona Cardinals offense, and you can take him way later in the draft than the other big-name tight ends. All right, guys, these are my 5 massive sleepers for the 2022 fantasy football season. I have very good reason to believe that all of these guys are going to be league-winning players, so draft them for your team this year. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video. I hope this video helped, and I will catch you later.